That's a Shame is brought to you by the people who support us over at patreon.com/shamecity.
If you have $1,
$2.
$1 to spare, join us again at patreon.com/shamecity. Please.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome to another brand spanking new free episode of That's a Shame. My name, as it was last week and as it will be next week, is Declan. And opposite me, whose name could change at any time, who could disappear from all our lives without a trace in a puff of smoke.
Very cool.
It is Isaac.
Hello.
Isaac, you're looking so fully bearded at the moment.
I know.
It's very cool.
And my girlfriend cut my hair for me.
I was going to say, are you newly coiffed?
Yeah, so that was nice. I mean, it's not perfect, but she did her best.
And-
Hats off to her for that.
It's more of an effort than you made to cut your hair.
For sure. Well, I was too scared. I do have clippers, but I had the big fear.
You didn't fancy the buzz cut.
I watched so many videos about how to cut your own hair, and it seemed like they fall into two categories. One is people who have an absurd level of mirror dexterity. Like, they're just like,
which
and
you
now
do
the next
not.
step, you just do the back perfectly in the mirror. There's one guy who was he looked like it was like a joke, because his mirror that he was using to see the back of his head was the size of a child's palm. And he was like just staring into the camera almost, whilst just perfectly doing the back of his head. And then the other people are people who do the video and have uploaded it with a title like, how to cut your own hair in quarantine challenge. And then at the end of the video, they're like, oh, so I totally fucked up. And I just recommend that you don't do this. So when you're looking through them for advice, it's quite disheartening.
I would not be very good at it unless I was just going full, like, number one all over.
Yeah.
Because I have appalling, mirror reflexes.
Very hard.
I can be sort of like trying to pluck something off my face maybe, or like a bit of dirt, and I can get up and down confused as well as left
so you
and
can't
right.
do the
just
straight
like
in front of your
no,
face.
just proper like, oh no, yeah.
Oh god, well, the
awful.
back of the head, that's a no-go zone.
Exactly. I won't be touching it. I don't know what it looks like.
No.
Never have, never will.
Best that you don't. So life good, is it? Big,
No,
powerful
no,
vibes.
bad.
Perfect.
but we,
What a
we
show
move on.
we've got, though. I thought for today that we could revisit something which we teased and indeed began, and like so many of our projects, it fell by the wayside.
Oh,
Yeah, it collects
well,
dust to this
what else
day.
would be like that? I don't.
No, I can't think of any other ideas. I mean, there was a point where we had this whole documentary series planned out, and in a whole other podcast, in fact. And both of those, they've fallen into the to be finished.
Well, to be
category.
fair, one of those was fucked over by the
pandemic.
novel
That's
coronavirus.
And there's rumblings. I'm hearing. I don't know if you've heard. There's rumblings about it.
About it resurfacing.
Many people are saying it's like that tweet about teeth. But people are saying the name of that show, which we cannot say. Big
We
secret.
can't.
Oh, and yeah, maybe we'll do a third podcast on the roster.
We'll
get
just
so
line,
into it.
we'll just
be
line that right up.
hacking 'em out.
What would that one be about?
huge news
Haircutting.
and stuff. Huge news and stuff can even be the name of it. But
Okay.
yeah, we started this a while ago, and of course, guys, you'll want to know what it is, and I'm here to tell you it is Ready Player 2. So those of you who thought you could escape without knowing what happens in Ernest Cline's big saga, RP2, that's what we'll be calling it.
You could have read RP1.
You
and
could
it would
have
have
read
told
RP1,
you.
it would have been the same thing. Or at least very similar.
Well, after last week, where we heard some very positive reviews of Ready Player One, I suppose
it rekindled a love in my mind.
it only makes sense that we find out just how much better Ernest got in between the writing of Part 1 and Part 2.
And like, we've made more than 2 episodes of the show, and I don't know about you, but episode 2, that was a really hard episode for us to do, wasn't it?
Well, as I recall, we did it basically at the same time as
And
episode
it was
1.
a really like, the vibe shifted, and we became panicked with that sense of like, how do we follow
The difficult second
such
album
a good episode?
Yeah.
Where we within 10 seconds talked about Hillsborough.
How do you top that?
Within an hour, I had come up with good names for the show, like Flowers for Algernon.
For Alderaan.
Oh yeah, not just the actual flowers.
We're just basing it on.
But yeah, I do wonder, and this chapter that I've read just 10 minutes ago, I finished it, has kept me wondering, perhaps in a way that Ernest is curating. It's keeping me on this knife edge of, will this book be good or will it be terribly bad? And I guess he wants to play with the reader's expectations, because when you've done such a successful book as RP1, you don't want to just go in and be like, well, this one's blowing that one out of the water, because that'd be disrespectful to the old material.
Yeah, exactly. And to all the fans of RP1.
Yeah, because there's of course going to be fanboys who are like RP1 purists, and they're like, for me,
Nothing
I stopped
to top
at 1 and I'll never read 2.
There are people out there for whom that scene in that movie is also their favourite scene. And so what scene could he possibly have them act out in this that's gonna top it?
They can't do War Games again.
Oh.
Can they? I don't know. It hasn't happened yet.
Does it strike you, because when you read the sort of prologue, which was called, was it Cutscene?
It was Cutscene or Cutscene 1 or something cool in gamer.
Yeah. It didn't strike me as though Ernest was aware he'd written a book beforehand at all.
Or that it had been published.
Such were the similarities.
Could check to see, hang on, Ernest.
How much of this appeared in the previous?
Turn it in. it's blown up. It says never before.
It says 110% plagiarised.
The bot has killed itself from seeing the exact same thing. Something that's actually more like the thing than the thing itself. Which contravenes basic logic. But yeah, we move into the book proper now. Although saying that, because the first thing I did was I wanted to see how many pages I had to suffer through for this one.
Okay, yeah, go on.
And the chapter is only maybe 20 pages on my Kindle, so it's probably less than that on a book, because a book, it's quite large, a book these days.
Could be.
These days it can be bigger.
Could be a pocket.
It can be a tiny little mouse's book. So this chapter is called, I think it's called 0000, but also the zeros do just look like squares. And also the next chapter appears to be called Level 4. So I'm not really sure,
what have you bought?
I might have some corrupted digi-version of the whole thing.
Right.
I did pay for this, by the way, which, more for me, really.
Yeah, that is just your own fault.
Just to very briefly, mostly for my benefit, resituate ourselves in the plot.
Yeah, let us know.
As I recall, all that had happened was, did we pick up exactly... I think we picked up exactly where the last book had been, but maybe not. Oh, no, he was in his office. So he's the CEO of the company.
Was he in his office? I
thought
he was outside.
Well, either way.
I thought he was outside. There was a big crowd and they were all like, yeah.
No. So that's the virtual place.
Right,
So in the real world, Wade Watts, our protagonist, he's in...
Wade Owen Watts, is it?
Yes,
so that
something
his
like
initials are World of War.
Wow, very cool.
World of Warcraft.
He's the CEO of GSS now, which is like Global Systems Syndicated.
He's the
some shit.
CEO of G4S.
Yeah. And the idea is that he's living the fucking CEO dream, isn't he?
Yeah, go on.
And it's your dream and it's my dream, and it's to ascend to a dominant position within the capitalist structure.
He's exploiting labour.
Non-fucking stop. And he's just out there, but he's got this tingling in his loins.
A hankering.
A hankering for new tech and a new adventure, I guess.
Maybe a new egg.
A new fucking gunt is on the horizon for Owen. I mean, Wade. And he, for some reason that I can't remember, some sort of secret happens and he's like, oh, let's follow that secret. And what I do remember is that he only ever is described as sprinting through the corridors of this office. And everyone who works there just looks at him like he's a fucking loser.
He's just Naruto running.
Because I think he's about 17 or something as well. Like, you would be really fucked off if your boss...
If my boss was...
Imagine if you're the VP of this company and suddenly you're like the boss, the CEO's died, and you're like, well, I guess the board's probably gonna... No, a child found an egg from a wizard and now he's your boss for life. Now he's the richest boy on the whole earth. It's very annoying. But he finds basically this new tech called the ONI, which is unfortunately always referred to as the Oni. Sounds a lot like Yoni. And he doesn't seem bothered about that, because I bet Ernest's not.
No.
He talks about this a lot.
And what does it stand for?
The optical neurological interface, some bullshit. Sure. It's a VR headset, but instead of VR, it's just R. You're just in the fucking Oasis now.
Oh, and right. What did you have to do before?
It was VR, but like, like VR when it's a bit shit, like you're attached to stuff and you can't feel things. And like, don't let me preempt here, because a lot of the opening section is going to explain the way in which this definitely is. Thank you for asking a different idea to the idea.
Because
It's still VR, but it's like
because my understanding of the original was that they were in this sort of VR.
yeah, it is
world.
VR, but it's not like VR. It's just like
so. What you're saying is that it was VR and now it's like the Matrix.
pretty much that is
Okay,
pretty much
cool.
the vibe.
Oh, well, that's good.
Now, interestingly, you captured that. I was sort of struggling to find exactly the words, but you put that in a single sentence. And for Ernest, he took very much option B, which is to make the longest, most tedious explanation of how and exactly in what ways this differs.
Let's have a look.
So, we pick up. Oh, and by the way, when he puts this on, there's some sort of like new bullshit, and he's like, "Oh, Halliday hid this. How did that happen?" And Halliday might appear, and he might say some shit, and I can't remember. It doesn't matter because it's made irrelevant in this very chapter.
Oh, okay, good.
So he puts the headset on, and there's a really horrible way that it works, which is that your vision immediately goes black, and you get put into a coma, basically.
Oh.
It's described as the headset instructed my brain to place my body into a harmless sleep-like state.
Nonsense.
Very weird. Very weird. And for me, that would be enough to kind of put
he
me off.
has a Carl Pilkington-esque understanding of what the brain
Yeah.
is, that as if
very
it's separate to
tangential.
him.
His body's a big flowchart.
The machine told my brain to tell my body,
And my limbs to
and
go
my
to
body said yes.
So he puts it on and he goes back into the Oasis. The Oasis, for those who don't know, is just the kind of VR world. It's like Second Life, but it is just Second Life.
Yeah, okay.
But there's less pixels, probably less fucking, or at least doesn't describe it as much. And he goes into the
He
Oasis.
saves that for the poetry.
And where he was when he left the Oasis, because remember, it's just come back to me, the way that he found out about this Oni was that he was in the place where it all happened at the end. There was a big battle at the end of Ready Player One to storm Anorak's tower. Anorak is the avatar of James Halliday. He's the CEO, the genius, the creator. He's Mark Rylance in the film. And he goes into the office, and the egg that he found has now got like a special, like, it's a fucking bullshit thing that happens in every fancy thing where like, oh, there was a type of writing that only appears under certain circumstances because we can't think of another way of delivering this news. And the egg said like, oh, try a headset on. So he finds himself back in Anorak's office, and there's an amazing, like, we're only on paragraph 2 here, but the sentence that really for me sums up, my guess is it's going to sum up the whole book, is everything looked the same as before, but it felt completely different.
Saying
And the
the
felt
quiet
is in
part out
italics.
loud.
Yeah, I like the idea that the publisher was like,
And I really
Ernest.
want you to bear that in mind. Just keep that at the forefront.
it should put it in like the header of every page,
Yeah.
or like the chapter quote before it begins.
It was, you know how like in most of the like Dickens novels, the chapter title is sort of an italicized summary of the events that are going
Yeah,
to take
in
place.
which-
Just every single
which it
chapter
still
in which
is the
everything
same,
seems
but-
the same. But
Now, from this page for the next, let me just scroll 1, 2, 3.5 pages. Everything that happens is basically he's doing that thing where he just lists things from the 80s that are video games or movies.
Right, okay.
But instead of those things, like, keep that structure.
Yeah, I've got
Take
it.
those parts out.
Yeah.
And what he's doing is he's just listing like every sensory experience you could possibly have in the most excruciating
well, it sounds,
detail.
as you know, stop me
on.
as soon as I oversimplify.
Go on.
I can think of, and I don't think I'm alone here, maybe 5 senses.
Sure, that's
Yeah?
the usual amount that people are thinking about these days. And for me, if I wanted to get across, and I do sympathise with Ernest, because obviously it's important for him to show that the Oni, it lets you like taste food, it lets you smell the air, it lets you feel the wood grain of a table. But I'd get that after you said, well, I got it after what I just said.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he needed the 3 pages to just go through every single thing that he could feel and think and touch and smell and hear and see and taste.
I also 100% bet that if you read Ready Player One,
Uh-huh.
within like within 10 pages of him being in the Oasis, he'll have said something like, "It was cold here." Like 100%. There's no way that he didn't even accidentally put in one sensory input that wasn't sight.
There are some quite conditional references because he's sort of stuck in that place. It's kind of like the concept that you'll be familiar with as a Hearthstone player of power creep,
right?
Where he wants this Ready Player 2 and the kind of concept that it encapsulates to be at once better, but without diminishing what came before. So he'll constantly be like, like your example, like I could feel the temperature. I sort of knew the temperature before and everything. Like that was still some sick tech in what I may describe as a great book. But this one, it is better. Just as a little taster of some of the things, the first thing that happens is that there's no visor on his face and he like touches his head and it's simulating like the lack of anything there. So that's quite cool, I guess. Like you don't feel encumbered by the technology. Mm-hmm. A light breeze blew into the study through the open window and in another Carl Pilkington-esque reflection on the body, I could feel it on my skin and my face. And my hair. Oh, wow. Now that is, for me, that's the triumvirate of breeze feel.
It's like one of those tests for, if you've got like focal limb paralysis. Yeah. Like, can you feel it on the skin? Yep. The face. Yep. The hair. He's cured.
He can feel his feet on the floor. He can feel also that his feet are snug in the boots. So that's like a double feet feel, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
It's like double tech in the one sort of foot department.
It's not like it can only handle one foot feel at a time.
It's got all the feet feel.
I hate to think what people are going to do with this technology.
Yeah, that will come up later. He basically just touches stuff and sniffs stuff. He picks up an apple and just as a kind of Chad move.
I cannot wait for this scene in the movie. 15 minutes of a guy just like tapping something, touching his skin, his face, his hair.
He picks up an apple and just in the way that people can't, he squeezes it in one hand in such a way that he creates, quote, tiny craters of pulp beneath the surface of the apple's skin, which is just like, he's just chadding it up in Appletown.
I can't believe he's this strong. Does he do that thing where he pulls it in half with his palms?
He doesn't, but he could.
Yeah, if he wanted
and
to.
He'd feel it, and let me tell you, he'd smell the apple.
And
he'd
if
probably
he licked
feel
it?
the apple spume coming up from the
apple mist,
the parted halves. Yeah, exactly that. It tastes like, in italics, a real apple. Not just that, but the most perfectly ripe and delicious one he'd ever eaten. Now he's going to dunk on the old one. He says an Oasis user had always been able to eat and drink things with their avatar, so it was still fun. And it was still good.
See, yeah.
But
go on.
And I just love this weird description of like landing it in a place where this is better, but the old one wasn't bad. But also it just comes out very weirdly. But eating a food power-up, I don't know what that is, or drinking a healing potion had always been a senseless pantomime.
Wow.
Which is a weird way of describing it, I think.
Yeah, I don't think people rarely say senseless to mean without the five senses. They normally mean as in like without pointless reason.
Yeah. A senseless pantomime performed with your haptic gloves. You never felt anything pass through your lips. Weird complaint to have about the Oasis. And you definitely never tasted anything on your tongue. He continues, and he's going round. He literally samples a list of about 7 different fruit that are just... I don't know why this is a fucking...
What? Sorry.
It's like a tutorial room in a game.
What was the... what's the word I'm looking for? For the book? The danger in the first one.
The danger in the first one was that our hero Wade wouldn't become head of the Gunters and win the company because there is a rival company.
Right. And
this is where it falls into a really dystopian kind of technocratic, business-minded critique, I guess, of the system. There's another company that's called like Industrial something else.
Evil Corp.
Yeah, they're just straightforwardly evil. Yeah. They're the competitors to GSS and they want to take the tech and privatize it more than it already is, despite it being a private piece
enterprise.
Of tech. Yeah. And they can only do that by also playing the game conveniently. So they do a mixture of like in the game world, they just have like OP avatars that they just get their employees to like level up. They're like basically, what's it called? Like just grinding. Yeah. Until they're just hench guys who just like fucking punch you if you're a gunter.
But in the real world,
they also kill Wade's aunt.
Right. But
in
nothing
a
would happen to
crash.
you within the Oasis. Like, if they punch you in the Oasis,
Your character will get killed
Right.
and have to respawn.
you
and
can probably just load back in there, right?
you can do that, yeah, but there are
Oh,
all
okay.
kinds of reasons that are very, may I say, carefully constructed in the plot as to
Okay.
why, if they punch you at the wrong time, that's it. It's game.
Wow.
They're
so
always
there, so
one
there
step
was
behind.
jeopardy in
A
there.
huge amount. I
Okay,
was on the
good.
edge of my seat reading the book.
Okay, that's good, because it feels like before you could feel anything, there would be none.
Oh my god, I exclaimed to the empty room. This is fucking incredible. But my words were garbled because I was talking with a mouth full of papaya. I could feel the juice running down my chin. I wiped it on my sleeve.
Did
It's like,
Did he forget that you can't speak with food?
yes, he was just testing to see if you can do that in the
Oh, right, I
Oasis.
see.
Because I guess someone had to program that in.
The only it was good,
If
but you
mouthful.
can't still speak through food.
Well, imagine if the next chapter is him having that bug, having that taken out. I, Wade Watts, am determined to pioneer a technology where papaya has no impact on speech. He continues, and now this is an interesting part, and I think it may be an example of what we in the biz call foreshadowing.
Okay,
We
right.
call it, it's F-O-R-E, it's not F-O-U-R. That's a different
Oh,
type.
that changes everything.
Now, what he's going to do is, as an experiment, bite down on his tongue and just see, well, is there pain? Because you may have heard in previous great works the phrase, if you die in the game, you die in real life, or if you die in the dream, you die in real life. This
Yeah,
is a very common,
I've heard about that, yeah.
common sort of thing. But interestingly, what happens here is that he can feel the pressure of the tooth, and he can feel the grain of his taste buds as he rakes them across his incisors, but he doesn't feel any pain, which is
Oh, that's good.
handy.
Does he try to chomp down straight through?
He doesn't. Halliday has
Coward.
clearly put some sort of pain prevention.
Absolute coward.
I think Ernest preempted you because immediately after the gentle tongue test,
Yep.
he draws one of his guns and shoots himself.
I take it back.
He takes several hit points of damage and then, confusingly for me, feels a mild jolt of pain. Not as much as a gunshot, but like, to me, this obscures.
but more than a hug.
This is like he's setting up, I can do whatever I want within the universe. Like, there is no rule here. Because clearly one of the defining rules of a system like this would be, does getting hurt you?
you,
Does
yeah.
getting killed kill you? And it seems like Ernest has seen that coming and said, maybe.
Imagine
The answer is a
he hadn't
resounding
decided.
maybe.
What if a great reveal would be if, like, when he eventually takes the Oni off, if he has bitten through his tongue and he's got gunshot wounds all over, and it turns out only masks it in game.
He's just like-
in the real life.
He takes it off
He's
and
just
doesn't
bleeding all over
immediately
the office. Yeah.
The VP walks in and solemnly shakes his head while taking the big Oni
At
crown.
last.
Very good. I hate this sentence. It's not very interesting, but I just hate the phrasing of it. A giddy laugh escaped me as I holstered
Stop.
my blaster. There's something about that, like, passive construction.
Yeah, you've just, it's like the Stephen King thing, like, just say said. Just
Yeah.
say you laughed.
A giddy laugh escaped me. Yeah.
Just say you laughed.
He jumped straight out the window. Now that's probably quite fun. I don't begrudge him that. And he does, in case you have difficulty kind of imagining, like, if you're one of those people who's like, what's that like? Whenever an action is described,
Go
like,
on.
Bob picked up the book. What's that like? He
What-
picked up
what's
the
it
book like a librarian might.
Okay.
He jumps out the window, taking flight like Superman.
Oh, right.
So just, that's a comic book.
And
guide.
so I see. So when he jumped out the window, he flew. He didn't fall.
Yeah, he flew like, Superman.
Like
the cape?
Superman.
And he looks pretty super. He
Any
rockets up into the
particular
clouds.
Superman?
Doesn't say, and
Bit of a noob move, but
yeah,
you
you
know.
want to know which version. You want to know
Yeah.
which edition. Is it the evil one, the one that lands in the USSR?
Ooh.
That could be an interesting Superman to fly like.
That could cause some problems there in the Oasis. I was hoping that he would that he was jumping out to sort of fall.
Yeah.
And smack on the
test that.
Oasis pavement and test that. and then I was
My ribs cracked.
well, this was it. Like, then I wanted to see whether Ernest had to decide whether being shot several times is better
bigger.
or
Is that
worse.
bigger on
is
the
a
pain
better
scale?
better or worse pain than falling from 70 stories.
He emphasizes at every point, like after every action. And, this isn't necessarily, like, if you were writing a scene like this for a movie or something, you would have a lot of moments to reinforce how amazing this is to an audience. Because obviously, like, it's just on on the page. We want to make sure it's clear. So after he eats the fruit, he's like, tasted like real apple. Like when Willy Wonka's like, the snozzberries taste like snozzberries. And when he shoots himself, it felt like a real bit of pain.
It felt just like when I was shot.
But like, even now, we're 3.5 pages into this, it felt like this. It felt really like this. And he's still like, I felt like I was really flying. And it's just, there's a tediousness to it.
We get the concept. It's not a difficult one. It's also, and I hate to say it's not an original one. Not even from his own prequel.
You liked the reference to Superman, though.
Oh, it really brought me closer to the character. Yeah, this is like
geek eyes only.
I love the idea that this one, like the idea that he got told by the publishers, like, look, we want to bring more people in, so the references have got to become much bland. So instead of this one scene from War Games, he's like I flew like they do in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
TM, registered trademark. That would be very good. Now we earlier had what I consider to be kind of a mission statement for the book, where it was like, but this time it was more good than last time. And here we have another.
It looked the same, but it felt
fucking
different.
Crazy. Here we have another, which is it's just such a fucking bathetic construct. I also, which like also is such a weak word to use in this sentence, and this is its own paragraph, these two sentences.
Good.
I also suddenly felt like anything was possible. Because now it clearly was. As if I haven't made it clear enough for the last 8 pages or whatever it is.
No, there really are no limitations here. I can get shot. I can bite my own tongue.
I can spit a bunch of papaya juice over anyone.
I can't speak through papaya still, but we're going to get that sorted.
We'll get our best guys on it. He very briefly thinks of Samantha, who he thinks is not going to approve it. You know what women are like when it comes to boys and their tech.
Yeah, they don't.
And they're frowning and
they
scowling.
don't get it, do they?
They just don't get it.
They don't get it.
They're not like. Of course, there are girls who play games, but they're not gamers like you and I.
No, exactly.
There'll always be girl hyphen.
It doesn't
gamers.
count if you're just playing Nintendo, does it?
Fruit Ninja.
Hell, yeah.
Fucking shopping
Candy
games.
Crush.
Yes.
Oh God.
He doesn't include that sort of that kind of rhetoric, but maybe that could be something we send as our like
subtextual
when we compile our advice for Ready Player 3.
Yeah.
Which let's just say must
be happening.
And you are going to read this one.
Oh no,
I can't do 2 of them for the love of God.
I've still got the Bob Honey sequel to buy and read.
Fuck, I forgot about that. And the Hillary Clinton book.
I'm not doing that.
It's a novel.
I'm not.
She's doing that
I'm
political
not
thriller.
doing the novel.
Oh, go on.
I can't.
Oh, go on, mate.
I can't.
It's about Hillary Clinton, but she's also got like
she's a man.
Combat role. So he thinks about her for a second, and then there's this sentence which I just highlighted. It's actually like a paragraph, just because Ernest flickers between these various types of prose, and he's now oscillating into that form where you want to sort of shake him and be like, Ernest, it's like he's getting 2 into one bit. Like he obsessively describes in
just
too much
literally
detail,
anything.
very boring stuff. The Oni had more in store for me, much more. I flew back to Anorak's study and continued to experiment with.
May I say, it still felt like I was really flying, like the Superman.
Anything were possible. That was when I discovered a new drop-down menu on my avatar's heads-up display, labelled Oni. There's just so much jargon. When I selected it, I saw a list of 12 large files that had already been downloaded to my account.
Hell.
They all had a .oni extension.
Meaningless.
He always, and this is
just doesn't matter.
This is another
it just
small
doesn't
gripe.
matter.
I got a small gripe. He says they all had an .oni extension, but
Dreadful.
I don't know, a .oni.
Oh no, it's because he's saying they all had an ONI extension.
Oh, you don't think he's saying the dot?
No.
Well, it's wrong. Don't write the dot, I guess. If you don't
Yeah.
want me to say the dot, don't write the fucking dot. And provocatively simple file names like all caps racing, surfing, skydiving, and kung fu fighting.
No. No.
Yep.
It does not say.
Yeah. I think this might be a Matrix reference because he does kung fu right away, doesn't he?
This
downloads kung fu.
This reminds me of when I was like 9 years old.
Were you in that Oni?
Oh, I was always in there.
Very cool.
You couldn't get me out. Now, I thought, inspired by the Harry Potter novels, I was going to write my own.
Oh yeah.
He was called Yemo Porritz.
Oh, that's clever.
And he was just some kid.
Go on, just a normal,
probably orphaned. I can't remember.
like a normal.
But then
kid.
he got asked to like
by
be
who?
special. I don't remember.
Okay,
But what
probably
I
the government. Or
but what I
something.
do remember is he had to like train, and he got this little
That's a
like
classic
training.
hero's journey.
Exactly, he got this little training document up, and like step 1 was magic.
Yeah.
Like learn
What-
magic.
Did it say like much about how
There wasn't a lot of lore.
you just learn it?
This was I wrote this on Microsoft Word, and
Very nice.
I set the page
Like
size to
Hemingway.
A5, like it was more like a real book.
That is cool. Or a pamphlet.
And then I set the font size to 36,
Like it was
and I
a-
used the font
Jester.
wide Latin. So there were maybe like 30 words on a page, if that. Yeah. So first one was magic. The
That's
second
a big one to get done out of the way as
The
well.
second one was I think magic again. Basically, it was just
Pretty
a different.
cool. Level
And
2
then
magic.
the third, and this phrase has stuck with me. Literally, just said, "Learn to do what ninjas do."
Sure, what? I have to research that one.
You have to discover
part of the journey.
and then learn to do what ninjas
That's,
do.
to be honest, hard because you'd have to accost one first.
You'd
and
have to
Tim Minchin
find-
says
they-
only a ninja can sneak up
They
on
they
another
can't
ninja.
if they're doing the job right.
Can't be
If
found.
there's someone worth learning from,
Yeah.
they won't.
It's one of the great paradoxes.
So yeah,
Socrates,
kung fu fighting.
he goes straight into the surfing simulation, and it's not that interesting actually, but I think it must be setting up something.
I couldn't care about this if I knew I could fly. Like, what the fuck is
you're,
that?
you're not wrong. Like, but he seems to be aware of the fact that these are all less interesting, and I think I'm not really sure why he's spending so much time talking about them.
I honestly, I think there's almost nothing that I could do in this that could rival just being able to fly.
Yeah, like Superman. I
Well,
guess.
specific. It doesn't say that you have to do it like Superman, does it?
No, it
he
doesn't
just
say you have
chose to. That was just a personal flourish.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. You could fly like some other people.
I could just fly sort of pencil, but like stood up,
Yeah, that would be fun.
just
T-pose.
perpendicular to the earth,
Just like 1 centimeter
like-
off it.
like an avatar you haven't animated yet, just zooming around the world.
But yeah, these simulations are like they're recordings of other people's experiences that are then sort of uploaded.
Right.
And then you just observe them. But like with all the sensory data.
But you don't control.
You don't control it. But you can like in the surfing one you can like feel the waves on you. I guess I don't know. Maybe if it were like great moments of history, like if there were one from when Jesus was crucified, everyone would be going.
He didn't.
Not to play
he,
as Jesus.
He forgot to upload that as a .oni file.
Classic.
Selfish bastard.
Sick. But yeah, there's something a little bit raunchy though
Oh,
here. Because let me just
What?
tell you something. Now don't make any guesses.
okay.
Looking down at my body, I realised that I was no longer Parzival, which is the very cool name of his very cool Avi.
Yeah.
I was someone else, which to me was clear from saying the first part. Someone smaller and thinner, with darker skin and strands of long black hair hanging in front of their eyes. Someone wearing a bikini. Someone with breasts.
Ah,
I was a woman!
no.
And an expert surfer.
Well, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So he hangs out as this woman for a bit, and his main reflection, despite it going on for like
Was
almost a
he? Was
page
he
and
a,
a half.
a black woman?
I don't know, it was unclear.
Yeah.
It was boring though.
Oh,
Whatever
it was boring. Yeah.
It was like cool tech, but it was boring to be the woman surfing. He pulls up a bunch of the other ones and he does some skydiving. Of course he does some kung fu fighting.
skydiving is the most pointless experience when you've just flown.
Just stop
It
flying.
is so dumb.
He does some horseback riding, which is also like,
What a step
that
down.
fun.
He rides a bike.
and then he specifies that this was all within the same half hour in case you're worried that he was like taking
Too
long.
much time. Okay.
He plays every .oni file on the list, one after the other, leaping from place to place, from body to body, from experience to experience. However, and here's something else that's a little bit, Ernest, he's got that cheeky side to him.
He does,
And that's
yeah.
what we loved about him. When we,
Oh, yeah.
over on patreon.com/shamecity, bonus episode from a while back, we read through a poem that Ernest wrote, and you'd love to hear about it, so go and subscribe for $5 a month. It's about a new kind of porn that's for losers only. Losers and misogynists only. Which is very cool.
Losers, creeps, and women haters.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
That's all who is allowed to have Ernest porn.
Yeah.
It's a beat poem as well, I think. It has that element to it.
You should do a little like
Performance porn.
backing to it.
I'm on it. I'll get the fuck on it. I stopped when I reached a series of files with names like sex-m-f.oni, comma, sex-f-f.oni.
Hang on a minute.
And
F-F?
yeah. Yeah.
And not some M-M?
No.
No.
That would be
Even
a step too
Even
far.
Ernest couldn't
ONI.
bring himself to put in male fucking homosexuality. Oh, go on.
sex-non-binary.oni, just as that would definitely be referred to. I wasn't ready for any of that.
You fucking loser.
So I jacked it all over Anorak's cavern. No, I was still truly
Imagine
coming across
you
VR.
you get into the super VR.
Yeah.
You all this stuff about it feels like real. It feels like I can taste papaya.
Yeah.
I can spit. I can
fuck a
fly.
guy. No.
I can fly. And then it's like, oh, there's a lot of options for other experiences. I'll do horseback riding. I'll
Yep.
do
Skydiving.
and then like, oh, fucking
Oh no.
no.
A bridge too far.
No.
It also lets him avoid like the problem of how you would map on the experience of the sex-f-f.only onto his male biological body, and I don't think Ernest's ready to grapple with that too much.
No, to be honest, I hope he never feels comfortable to do so.
I wasn't ready for any of that. I was still truly, madly, deeply in love with Samantha, despite her birthmark. It doesn't say that. That's my commentary, but that's how good a
that's
guy
the-
he was, and that was
yeah.
emphasised in the first one. It didn't bother him. It bothered him enough to mention it about 25 times.
He didn't have to.
But he got over it. I was still reeling from losing my virginity to her just a few days earlier.
What?
The word reeling is very wrong.
I didn't know about this.
No, it's not described.
Oh
we don't
my
get any
God.
of the fucking.
But this is the first we're hearing about it.
Yeah, just dropped
He's
in.
dick
Well, he's
down
casual.
on Samantha.
He's casual.
IRL or?
I think IRL. I think so.
Oh,
I didn't want to be unfaithful to her, and I figured that cheating was cheating, whether it was live or it was in Memorex, which I
guess is the name
I
of
didn't
this thing.
notice when I read it, but I guess he must have said that somewhere, because it would be, even for Ernest, quite mad to just retcon that within a page.
I mean, I would not put it past him.
He logs out of the Oasis, and what follows is, to be frank,
His tongue hurts.
dull. He's in the real place. He says Halliday was right. The Oni was going to change the world. And he wonders, how in the hell has Halliday done this? Which is a reasonable question, because it's obviously so far and away.
How has he done this, and why didn't I know about it before?
Yeah. He asks a bunch of these kinds of rhetorical questions, and then, to my mind, it's a mixture of like hand-waving the answer and just having a kind of bad answer to the question.
Can I just say as well that it's good that there's only one of these Onis about?
Yeah, because it could be in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
People
Well,
would
and
be
also,
spitting
you'd
papaya
worry
everywhere.
that he'd be going on, like, he and his team would be going on adventures using the Oni.
Yeah.
But if there's only one,
There is
no-
only one.
Yeah.
Let me say it again for the record. There's only one of the owners.
Okay, good.
And that means that no one can be experiencing the sex-m-m.only forbidden files and wrecking Halliday's Straits only
His vision.
But basically, I'm going to just spare you actually reading any of this part, because what happens is, the secret to how Halliday had done it was he just had done it.
He'd just done it.
He
Thank God.
just had been doing it for 25 years that we never knew about. And I guess Ernest didn't know about. No, Owen. No, Wade didn't know about it.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't know about it. But it's also profoundly unsatisfying as an answer to be like, how had he done this? He'd just been doing it for fucking ages. And so he's hired this lab full of neuroscientists and set up a research division, which was on the face of it. And this begins a sort of subplot, which I think we had a little bit of earlier, which is that this book has, to my reading, a slightly strange relationship with disability. Because Halliday is using this lab as the front for the lab is that it's to develop technology to empower people living with disabilities to experience the wonders of the Oasis.
Right.
Fair enough. That seems like a good thing to do. Maybe less. Well, no. He goes through this very lengthy detail about how there's a cochlear implant, and he even specifies that for those who chose to use it acknowledging that some members of the deaf community
Don't want to be
wish
doing that.
allowed the hearing impaired to perceive sound with perfect clarity. Then he does the same thing for eyes. He turns his attention to another of the senses.
There's eye implants.
And then he does it for the brain. And you can just full on brain implant stuff that gives you...
What do you mean?
It basically allows people who are paraplegic to control either robotic limbs or like the limbs of an avatar. I think it's slightly unclear. They sort of give all this tech away, which is very nice and noble.
yeah.
So Halliday, I want you to think of him as a good guy.
I wasn't thinking of anything else.
He's a great guy. I mean, he hates gays, but
He
apart from that,
can't stand the
but
people.
apart from that, he's a good. It was, he's from the 80s.
Every time Queer Eye comes on, he just starts spitting.
It's Queer Eye's banned from the Oasis, and basically he then explains in a way that I never find interesting in science fiction the mechanics of how this thing works.
Very.
And the way it works is it's kind of like a sort of data bank of recorded experiences that when your avatar does something, it like searches and it's like, okay, he's eating a papaya, like trigger the recording we have of someone eating papaya. So I think this must have plot relevance later, or there'd be no reason to explain it, but that might be egg on my face because that can't be true for every boring detail that we've had so far. But it seems to...
The book is only so long.
It narrows down the field of what you can experience to things that someone has once experienced, right? So
Like flying like Superman.
yeah, so I'm expecting that at some point there'll be like an experience, maybe like powerful love or something, where it's like it's just blank and he's like, no one had ever felt this way before, so I recorded my hard-on and put it into the Oni's Memorax or whatever fuck it was called.
Every citizen has to relive him fucking Samantha over and over
in a
for the rest
strictly
of time.
M-F
And you're only allowed to experience it from the M. Does not matter because we don't want people knowing how
her
unsatisfied
pleasure,
Samantha
it can't
is.
record female pleasure. Like it doesn't believe in the female orgasm.
Any of them.
That's very funny.
And her birthmark's gone in its memory.
The opacity is an option that you can slide down.
It's just like pixelated like a criminal's face.
But yeah, so they record all these sensations and play them back at the right time. Now, it goes to great lengths to say that he's a good guy, this Halliday, because he sets up this accessibility research lab, which, let us remind ourselves, it's first layer, much like Morgan Freeman's character in Batman. On the face of it, it's doing just like normal
He's doing
tech.
cool stuff about plumbing.
Yeah, and he's also making it like...
And then it turns out he's building a fash army.
He's subsidizing the giveaway of this technology, which is nice. That's a good thing to do. However, within the same sentence, well, I'll just read you this full sentence and tell me if you can spot anything that sort of reveals that it's like a
Breach
kind
of
mask
human
off.
rights. Okay.
This program made powerful new tools available to any physically disabled individuals who chose to use them, but it also provided the ARL, that's the lab, with a nearly unlimited supply of willing human guinea pigs on whom to conduct their ongoing experiments.
Wow, I see.
I don't know if that's intentional.
Disabled people are animals.
Don't know if that's intentional on the part of Wade or...
It's interesting. I'm thinking of some other regimes from history who used the disabled as...
No .ONIs from 1939 to 1945 were made available.
Tuskegee.ONI.
The Wade doesn't talk about this lab or the existence of all this tech before in the first book, despite the fact that this is all public knowledge, because first of all, Ernest hadn't thought of it yet. And second of all, in universe, he goes to great lengths to specify that this was only really relevant to people who are quite severely physically disabled. And this really, for me, narrows down the category somewhat. So think in our Venn diagram, we've got category A, severely physically disabled, category B, willing to undergo invasive, possibly fatal brain surgery.
Oh.
They're the only people that would have been talking about this tech in Ready Player One.
Okay.
So it's not like retconning, it's not an oversight. If that's what
he's
thinking.
not, I just, because it sounds there like
Go on.
Halliday was just sort of killing a lot of disabled people through brain surgery.
Come on.
It sounds like that's what he was doing.
He's trying to build
It sounds like what he was doing. It sounds like what he was doing was going, I'll give you a ring fit if you let me fucking kill you.
like the guinea pig you are.
It's just awful.
Yes, not great. However, he eventually...
I wondered, how had Halliday done this? And it turned out it was through multiple human rights abuses.
Oh dear. Now, what happens eventually, to just segue from human rights to workers' rights abuses, is that the scientists have been sort of kept in a sort
Not
of...
saying they'd been sort of locked away so that they couldn't.
Well, it's not... I think they probably had freedom, although they had, I would imagine, heavy NDAs on their work. But he's done this sort of psychotic thing of segmenting them all so that no one knows what they're all working on. Which I guess if you thought this was going to be truly like dangerous, world-changing, powerful tech, which it probably would be, is not necessarily unreasonable. But as soon as the technology is ready...
It feels to me like there's only like one person that you really need to keep out of that. Like, is there a lot of danger for like the people working in the eyes department chatting to the people from the ears department? Like, if they're chatting and they're going, "Oh, what are you doing?" "I'm fixing the ears." Like, "Oh, I'm fixing the eyes." Like, I don't know. I think it's the next bit where it's like, "And what about you?" "Yeah, I'm just cutting into disabled people's brains left, right, and centre,
sticking microchip after microchip up in there,
just to see what happens."
Yeah. I guess it's not usually the sign. If they were like, if Steve Jobs had come out and been like, "Yeah, we're working on a new product. We keep every scientist in their own house." That's kind of what happens in Better Call Saul.
Yeah, with the builders.
It's not usually the sign of good, like, positive contributory tech. As soon as it is finished, a point at which only Halliday realizes that it's finished, and he doesn't really describe what it was that created the finishing of it, like what the final piece of the puzzle was. It's a bit draw the rest of the.
Did everyone have to like bring in the dark, like eyes closed, to just sort of bring in their own little bit? Yeah.
I got the ears. I got the papaya. Where's the guy with the talking through the mouth? He's off. He's off sick.
God.
We killed him in some possibly fatal surgery. They basically get split up immediately. So as soon as the thing works, he just fires them all. Fucking off. They are gone. He gives them, it specifies a generous severance package, but only if it's contingent, quote, upon their strict adherence to the non-disclosure agreements they'd signed when they were first hired.
But like, what is gained by firing them? Like,
he doesn't want them to carry on not knowing.
Surely they're pretty good.
No, get rid of them. You can't relocate them to elsewhere, in that you've got to fucking kill these guys.
Like, what happened? Because I feel like if he... after this, he's going to realise maybe there's, for Ready Player 3, and you fucked off the entire workforce, none of whom knew exactly what was going on anyway.
It's very silly. Now he does that cool technique of like chapter delineation. So we're still in the same chapter, but there's going to be a ... that separates it to the next bit. Yeah. And the end of this section, which I've really enjoyed, but we're going to continue on to finish the chapter.
I've gained nothing.
Well, you've gained... Well, maybe like...
I gained nothing that I didn't myself say in that one sentence. This has just occurred to me. Maybe like the scientists all being split up like that are a metaphor for the reader's experience, where we're only being fed one part of the story. So maybe between all of the readers of Ready Player 2, the Gun community, then we'll reveal the true genius of the plot and the story and the knowledge within it. That's why yours goes straight to chapter 4.
Very cool. And now my friends and I had inherited this invention. It was ours, to bury or to reveal. This sets up a very cool ethical question, I'm sure you'll agree, where in Wade's hands are pieces of technology, or a piece of technology, that literally would change humanity's relationship to each other, to the virtual world, to the real world by proxy. So it's within the same paragraph that they resolve this dilemma. He specifies in a way that, for me, is better than, writing this part.
Okay.
We didn't make our decision lightly. We weighed all the pros and cons. Then we held a vote. The ayes had it. And just like that, we changed the course of human history forever. And that's just the end of that paragraph. So they don't. He doesn't
even say who, does he?
It's the team of the Gunters. So it's Wade, Samantha, his friend who he thinks is a tall white guy who turns out to be a black girl.
Wow.
And hang on, I thought there were 5 of them. Maybe one of them died or something. Or maybe, who are the 4? Because there were two brothers. There were 2 Asian brothers.
They've just become the same one.
I think
he forgot.
He probably did. I think he just combined their characters. Or maybe it's because one of them's underage, so he can't be a CEO or some shit.
I love the idea of Wade having to do some sort of the thick of it style press conference where he reveals this. And the first question is literally like, how did this tech come about? And he's like,
have you heard of guinea pigs?
my brother went in for some surgery and
Came out with
we
no head.
haven't seen him since.
But
I was asked to eat several fruits by Halliday. I still haven't received my paycheck.
the next section has some of the strangest pacing that I've ever read in a book. And it's strange on a number of levels.
Can it be stranger than the pacing that we've already had, which was 8 pages of detailed experiences of biting fruit, followed by one sentence saying, we decided to change the
fate
whole
of humanity.
world.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you're right. I guess it does continue in that tradition.
it reminds me of, there was, when I taught English, my year 7s had to write like this little assessment, and it was based on the poem The Highwayman.
Oh, yeah.
And they had to write a letter as the highwayman, as if he was writing to, is it Bess?
I don't recall.
And about, their exploits as a highwayman. And one of them, possibly my favourite, was this kid who wrote 4 really detailed, descriptive paragraphs about how ornate the king's carriage was as it came along the road towards him, and the horses and the colours, and then under that, because he was running out of time, he wrote, so I robbed it and took all his stuff. Much love, the highwayman.
That's really very good.
It's so funny.
That's a very good choice, I think.
It was so. I was like, when you got to
like
here,
that.
how long left? Just out of interest, did you have any? He was like, yeah, the bell had gone. I was like, fair
That's so funny. That's like the Mr. Megorium's Magic Emporium speech about how good the stage direction in King Lear is, where it's like you've had all of this building up to it, and then it just says he dies.
He dies, yeah.
Like it's got big Shakespeare energy. I think that kid's probably a genius, and so is Ernest by proxy. So they don't make that decision lightly. What they do, they do a series of trials to do like safety shit, and they put them on sale at the lowest possible price. Doesn't specify what that is.
Well, the lowest possible price is free.
Yeah, it's not that, because
I
he
see.
specifies how rich he becomes as well. They sell them.
I
Go on.
thought Halliday, for all of his experimenting on disabled people, I thought that he was giving it away for free, wasn't he?
He was subsidizing the prior tech, accessibility tech. So they got to make, it's capital after all. Like,
Right, but he does.
they've got to
Like,
make a profit.
the Oasis is
to the
basically
shareholders.
everything, isn't it? Like basically everyone on Earth is in it.
Yeah.
So they're probably not short.
No, but you've got to. Is not a man entitled to the sweat of his brow?
Well, it wasn't his, was it?
Well, he found it in an egg. And he shot himself and jumped out a window. So that's fair game. I
Flew
think.
like the Superman.
Finders keepers. So just stay with me as we accelerate the timeline now. They sell 1 million units on the first day, and IOI's entire line, now that's the bag company, and also the name of the people who developed Hitman, I just realised, which is a weird crossover. IOI's entire VR goggle line is just fucked now. Like they're just dead. GSS, Wade's company, becomes the world leader, and then just a few days later, it happened. The event that set this whole tale in motion. The writing takes on now a slightly different tone.
Okay.
Because he hasn't spoken in terms of this being a tale.
No.
Maybe he did at the very beginning, but he hasn't for a while. A few seconds after the Oasis servers reached 7,777,777 simultaneous Oni users, which Declan just pointed at my MIDI keyboard, is a number displayed pretty much on it at the moment. Big coincidence.
Wow.
Maybe we're in the fucking Oni RM. Quick, fetch me a papaya.
Pod.oni.
A message appeared. They're simultaneous Oni users. A message appeared on Halliday's long dormant website. It's confusing to me that websites are still really a thing.
Yeah.
But sure, where the scoreboard for his contest had once resided. Now this is huge. Okay, now I can see that you're bristling with excitement, and I shan't hold it back any longer. This has been highlighted. You know, Kindle does that thing where it shows you things that people have highlighted a lot, like the most popular parts of a text. This is one of them. 37 highlighters so far. Seek the 7 shards of the siren's soul on the 7 worlds where the siren once played a role. For each fragment my heir must pay a toll to once again make the siren whole. Mwahaha! I added the laughter, but I got that vibe.
That's the
What I
energy.
liked about that was how many times they got the word siren in there.
Siren. What I like is he thought, last time it was 3 things, wasn't
Yeah.
it, that they had to find. Now, if you just times that by 2 for
Lazy.
Ready Player 2, that would be 6 things.
lazy, though.
And 7, we all know, is a mysterious
It's
number.
a gamer number as well, right?
It is a gamer number.
7 levels in Mario. I made that up. 7 different Donkey Kongs you can collect. So that is the setup. Right?
So
that's like the big thing for this one.
So hang on, it said my heir must pay a toll.
Yeah, which makes it sound much too literal because that's not really an idiomatic phrase to say
No,
that you
to
pay
pay a toll.
You pay like a
Can't
price.
pay a
Yeah.
toll to get
get
into
to
this
the-
heir's hole.
It came to be known as the Shard Riddle, and the first thing old school Gunters noticed was that its rhyme scheme and syllable count were identical to the 3 hidden keys
To those
the
on
3 secret gates.
stormfront.com. The long dormant stormfront.biz.
He describes the riddle that set off the previous one as the 3 hidden keys open 3 secret gates rap that Halliday had used to announce his famous Easter egg hunt. Now, I don't remember the last one, but I'm pretty sure no one
assume
rapped
it's
it.
not a rap. And B, you can't have a title that long.
Yeah. People in the real world, they assume this is a publicity stunt.
So sorry. So I still am just lingering on the poem
Siren
itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Shard poem.
the Shard Riddle.
The Shard Riddle, of course.
Shard Riddle rap.
So is this some sort of punishment for him?
It's a good question. It's a good question because you're right. This has clearly been baked into the experience. Halliday was a smart guy, smart to the point of impossibility. And so he must have known that whoever became the heir would probably find the only thing. In fact, he made that happen. And then he's also made it now that they have to undergo whatever this toll is that they, well, in fact, pay this toll, which sounds very literal.
For each shard that's found, he removes 1 cent from the owner.
Yeah, I thought it might be fun to pause at this point and to make some fun predictions
Okay.
as to what this is going to mean in the game world. So I'm going to read it again, and maybe you guys at home can join in, shame.city/discord, or tass@shame.city, or at Shame City Gang if you want to send us any ideas you have. Seek the 7 shards of the Siren's soul. Now, I'll give you a bit of info. The Siren, he believes, is going to be Halliday's unrequited love, who married his business partner, and he's fucking obsessed with her. It's creepy as hell. And he built a whole
was
lot of the
gang
riddles
stalking
around
her. Right.
around her in the last one. In the Steven Spielberg film version, there's the best scene is the one that's like The Shining, and she's like dancing with all of the sort of ghosts in the ballroom,
Oh, right.
which is quite cool. It looks quite good at least. But the whole point of it is that she was not into him. Maybe there was a thing when they were like young where he thought maybe, and then like she married someone else. So
This sounds like I was watching some of the old Charlie Brookers.
Oh, yeah.
And he was going through some shy adverts from the time.
Yeah.
And there was this old Google advert that I had repressed.
I don't remember any such thing as a Google advert from any point in history.
it was for like Gmail or maybe like Google Plus, something like that. Remember that?
Very cool product.
And it was this guy who was sort of making a folder
Oh,
or
that's
something for his high school sweetheart
Oh, yeah.
who he tracked down because she also had a Gmail.
Oh, no.
And it was just like it was on Google Maps and it was all the places that they'd
Oh,
like
no.
and
This is
it's just
awful.
like it was just the most
That's very mask off
stalkerish.
from
Yeah,
Google.
like, oh, this is the bench where we like on Street View where
Come to
we like
Google.
had our kiss. Like
We have
here's
all of
the-
her data, and now you will too. Google. Every
You can
little
find
helps.
any woman you want.
Street View. We can imagine if they let you unblur the windows of houses for a premium subscription to Street View.
Wow, that's coming
short
soon.
story tech.
That's coming soon.
So, seek the 7 shards of the Siren's soul. My guess here is it's going to be like 7 things that she was canonically really into, like Wario.
War
could be one of
games.
them. War games again. Eggs. Papaya, maybe. I bet he's going to do a thing where the answer was in plain sight all along, and there was something that's been described in all that detail that. Or maybe like surfing is the answer. Maybe it was her surfing, for example.
What if all of the things end in oni, like one of those macaroni?
Name
Pepperoni.
6 more now. Rice-a-roni.
Marconi.
The San Francisco treat. Fucking hell. Yeah. Maybe. On the 7 worlds where the siren once played a role. Now, I imagine, well, this is obviously going to be 7 literal worlds in the Oasis, and played a role makes me think that she, like, maybe it's like an RPG, thing, right? Maybe she played D&D. That sounds like a kind of thing they could do. I can't quite think how it would relate. For each fragment, my heir must pay a toll. No clue. Seems really, really unfair.
Yeah.
It's sort of a dunk on his heir.
It just seems like what's he hoping? Like, and also he's not that you would ever feel sorry for the CEO of a global tech giant like this, but he has only just got the job, as far as I know,
and also it's
having been through at least some jeopardy to get it.
He gunted with the best of them.
His aunt got gunted to death.
She got fully gunted into the next life. That was sad. But yeah, the CEO could also just be like, no, we're turning off that part of the Oasis. like, just not. I'm not going to pay 7 tolls. You idiot! You dead idiot.
Delete Halliday.oni.
To once again make the siren whole. So this, I'm hoping against hope that siren is not always just meaning her over and over again, because it's used so many times and that would be very shit. I hope there is going to be like a literal siren or a Greek myth kind of siren involved somewhere.
What if it means it's going to make Samantha a virgin again?
Oh dear, it's like reconstructive surgery. Our cool tech guys at the neuroscience labs had no idea that what they were building was the world's first hymen reconstruction.
Some people in the cochlear implant division.
Some people had to undergo some invasive, possibly fatal vaginal surgery to satisfy my puritanical desire for pure virgins only.
The thing is like the trouble with this is that there is nothing it could be that's good.
It does seem like there can't be anything satisfying because we don't know anything about this character really.
Yeah, and also that it has the same problem whereby whatever the answer is will either be too good, or it will be too shit,
or it'll be War Games again 7 times. She has
the 7 missing scenes from War Games. Yeah. Played the role.
Come to think of it, that is concerning because he's going to play a role of
do all sorts.
Fucking something.
But like, it will either be something stupid like, it will put together this picture of us that I broke,
statue
that I broke so that you could fix it, or it will be, it's going to bring me back from the dead.
And my power will have no bounds. You will be seated at the right hand of the Dark Father.
Just Palpatine.
That'd be so good.
Like, it can only be too good or too bad. There's no middle ground there.
There's no satisfying ending to this setup.
There's no reason, like, if the sort of like pay a toll seems to imply that he made the wrong decision by like making this technology available, but then what's that, like, he really just did hate disabled people and didn't want them to have access to it, and now that you've done this, I'm gonna punish you.
Weird setup. There he says as well, where was this bit? I put it in my notes, but I can't find it on the page. He says the timing of the riddle can't have been a coincidence. And yes, Ernest, it can't have been.
It cannot be.
There's no circumstances under which that could be the case. But there's an interesting like asymmetry to the power dynamic now, because all of the players just think this is like a stunt, but only the 4 of them, again, not 5 for reasons that are unclear to me, know the truth of the matter, that this is a real second egg to be gunted. Where there's an egg, there's a gunt ready to be.
You're saying that the rest of the gunt unity, they're not falling for it?
Well, it's not that they're not falling for it, but they certainly don't treat it with the urgency that the first one was treated with.
I suppose there's not the same good prize at the end.
Yeah, well, it doesn't. Exactly. It doesn't promise actually anything. It just says
promises
the siren will be whole, and like who gives a fuck?
That could be anything. I say, that could be anything.
It's quite handy as an author. Do you think he came up with that riddle a long time before he ever? Do you think the riddle preceded the solution, or the solution preceded the riddle?
Oh, definitely the latter. Definitely the latter.
But then I would have worked backwards to a better like riddle.
Yes, you would have.
Oh, thanks,
Ernest.
Thanks so much. What was Halliday trying to tell us? Then he says, what he's trying to tell them.
Oh, okay.
The siren's a reference to Kira Morrow, the deceased wife of Og. I forgot that the business partner was called something Og. He's called like Boris Og or something. Less dumb than that.
So his initials are Bob. Mr. B. Og.
Back when they were all in high school together in Ohio, Kira had named her Dungeons and Dragons character Leucosia after one of the sirens of Greek myth. Many years later, Kira had given her Oasis avatar that same name. After her death, Halliday had used the name Leucosia as a computer password, which I'd had to guess to win the final challenge of his cool contest, where I became the Guardian-in-Chief.
Are there 7 specific sirens in Greek myth?
An avenue worth exploring, perhaps, and there could be something that pertains to each of them.
Not worth.
Really, that could be a lot of fun. Because I don't know about you, but I'm burning to make that siren whole, aren't you? I can't wait for it to happen.
When it happens, I'll be there.
Can't fucking wait. Then this part I think has the big energy of like the end of act, or like it's not even the end of act 1 because we're not very far in, but the end of like the premise scene where it's like dum dum dum, and I wasn't alone. Boom boom boom. The Riddle's appearance spawned a whole new generation of Gunters. Boom boom boom. And they all began to scour the Oasis
second ago, nobody cared.
for the 7 shards. But unlike Halliday's egg, no reward for finding it had ever been announced, so they don't know what they're actually looking for or why. So don't worry about that. Now, here begins some more of the weird pacing. In what seemed like the blink of an eye, an entire year passed. They've sold...
Not what seemed like.
Yeah, in one sentence. They've somehow sold 4 billion of these units, which is a lot. Like, that is
There's
a lot
no
of units.
way that they did that.
There's a long description, not necessarily long in the grand scheme of things, but unnecessarily long of the cool financial, like finance bro maneuvering that they do to take over. They do a hostile takeover of IOI, just so they have no competitor.
Is that the other company?
Yeah, the evil one. Furthering their like obvious
monopolization,
problematic monopoly over the whole goddamn world.
And then they hike the price again.
Yeah, probably they will eventually. Although it says to celebrate, we released all of IOI's indentured servants and forgave their outstanding debts. So they're good guys. They're good Gunters. Another year passed. The Oasis reached a new benchmark. 5 billion people logged in each day. Had 6 billion.
Had he and his pals not been looking at the riddle for this time?
Nah. These years are passing like no one's business. He's probably busy dicking down MF.
If I'd made a decision to change the course of humanity, and then immediately the guy who provided that technology said that I was going to have to pay 7 tolls, I'd be wanting to get ahead of the game.
Yeah,
like I wouldn't be on wallstreetbets.com. I would probably be trying to like make sure I got there first.
And also from a literary perspective, if I'd just written so much setup to and now the world was changed, I'd want to be seeing
the world.
I'd want to be seeing how it changed. I wouldn't want to be skipping years and years
how it
ahead.
changed is that 6 billion more people had an Oni.
Yeah, 2/3 of the planet were on their platform at once, and over 99% of them are using the Onis. Then it says...
you don't want to be the one cunt still just using the old system,
You'd
do
be
you?
absolutely
just pretending you know what the apple...
great apple.
God, tastes just like papaya.
It's
a fucking grapefruit.
There was worm in it. He does this great thing of like, for all the detail he put into the stuff that didn't really require any imagination other than like remembering what fruit is like, he now just doesn't really bother to engage with the totality of experience available to people on the platform. He says there were new experiences to download every day.
Every day people were asking for a sex M-M function.
I was so surprised and pleased to see that none ever appeared.
And every day I took to the press conference to say emphatically no.
There were new experiences to download every day. Anything and everything you could imagine. You could go anywhere, do anything, be anyone. It was the most addictive pastime imaginable, far more addictive than the Oasis had ever been. And that was saying something. But yeah, he just doesn't really tell you anything about it. Next, there's a really dull bit about the software and processing power that it's required.
More file endings.
We've got to add to our lexicon some new vocab.
So hang on. So we've got Oni, we've got Memorex.
Yeah, we've got Gunter. We've got ARL, which was the Accessibility Research Lab. We've got GSS, the company.
We've got
IOI, they're done.
They're gone. Forget that.
We've got Gunter.
You said that again.
Easter egg hunter, Gunter.
Now
we need to add some new ones. We've got Sims. which were recordings made inside the Oasis, and Rex, which were only recordings made in reality. Except, and you're going to like this because this is a good bit of futurism, he's cast his mind forward and he's thought, if this technology became so ubiquitous and people, because the world's so fucked, because there hint at some kind of climate catastrophe in the lore, the mythos of Ready Player One. Are people going to spend more time in the virtual world? Yes, it's probably better.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do about that? Most kids no longer referred to it as reality. They called it, just get ready for this one, the Earl, a term derived from the initialism IRL. He spells it like Earl Grey or like Earl of Norfolk or something. And
Fuck.
Ito was slang for in the Oasis.
Fuck.
And then just to really like put a cap on that whole thing,
Yep.
like a kind of, the end of like a language lesson where they're showing you all the parts of it together. So Rex were recorded in the Earl, Sims were created Ito. You say just they're created Ito like that.
You don't say in the Ito.
It's like pin number.
I'm going to be doing
It's
that.
like
I'm going to be
ATM
saying like
machine.
I'm doing the emails.
People will think you're fucking old school
What a
gunter.
fuddy duddy. How do I open a PDF?
Yeah,
eh?
.oni. There's a very worrying bit where it says you can become your favourite celebrity for a few minutes, existing inside their skin.
Inside their skin?
Don't like or want to know more about.
Wait, inside their skin in the Earl or
in the
in
Ito.
the Ito?
Fuck, we just did it.
No.
You can upload your own experiences to it. Like say I don't know, did an
Went
amazing
horseback
kickflip.
riding.
Or I just jumped out of the window.
Say I had sex with a map.
Now, funny you should mention. Warning! They only take 20% of your profit for uploading it to their store. If people want to buy
Wow,
it.
well,
They're the
that's
good
generous
guys.
of
They're
them,
the good
yeah.
guys. For less than the cost of an iced latte, you can now safely experience just about
Well, how much is
anything.
that
No,
in
it
the
doesn't
future?
Say. Doesn't say.
Wow,
say.
good.
Also, I don't know why you can buy them because Wade was living in a car park of endlessly tall houses. So it's confusing that that's still a commodity available to people. You can now safely experience just about anything that human beings could experience. You could take any drug, eat any kind of food, and have any kind of sex. Asterisk.
Hang on a minute.
Without worrying about addiction, calories, or consequences. You could relive uncut real-life experiences, play your way through scripted interactive adventures inside the Oasis. Thanks to the Oni, it all felt completely real. The Oni made the lives, and you're going to be pleased about this, of impoverished people all around the world a lot more bearable.
By charging them only $499.99.
And enjoyable.
Oh, that's good.
People didn't mind subsisting on just dried seaweed and soy protein when they could log on to the OniNet and download a delicious 5-course meal anytime they pleased. The OniNet
But it
is their
doesn't
social media.
actually sate you, does it?
Apparently,
It doesn't give you
slides down your
nutrition.
esophagus. I may have missed that out, but you can feel it sliding down your esophagus.
Right, but
You're
again,
right that I can't see how it
in
can
the
nourish.
Earl, it can't nourish, can
Yeah,
it?
Earl, your body is withering to nothing. And some of the money could be invested rather than the 20%. So you could maybe make it so they don't have to eat seaweed only.
Absolutely losing the idea of someone in some fucking estate back in Essex living in absolute tatters with the most expensive fucking Oculus Rift headset on,
Chomping down weed.
His wife is like, but
Honey,
we've only got one tin of soy. He's like, shut up.
Shut up, Mary, I need some
downloading
Dash
some
fucking-
steak.
And also, I love that you'll add this.
Oh, but
element
sorry,
onto
and
it.
again, this is just another thing that he's ripped straight from the Matrix,
Yeah.
where they only eat that protein paste,
Yeah.
but then that guy
Gets obsessed with the idea of steak.
It's what's his name,
Mouse
isn't it? Joe
steak, it's
Pantoliano.
called, yeah.
Where he's like, I just want to eat a fucking steak.
Yeah,
I
it's a
don't
good bit
care
of
if
Matrix.
it's. I don't care if it's a fake steak.
You can, I'm sure you were wondering this, if you want, you can experience any of these meals as a diner with unusually sensitive taste buds. So that will be good, I guess.
Oh, that's such a
Why
boring
include
detail.
that bit?
Fuck off. You can fly. Because you forgot. Is anyone walking in the Oni?
Surely not. Although maybe you would for a bit, just to contrast it with flying.
No.
Maybe not. He goes on about how it's moderated, which is characteristically
Impossible.
dull and also nonsense and impossible.
Impossible.
There'd be so much illegal shit on there. It
There's
would be
no way.
awful.
You can't moderate the web.
Yeah.
And people
Let alone
people
only
have real limited ways of interacting with that.
Another bit of terminology to enjoy. Sensoft is their custom strong AI
sake.
sensor software which scans every .oni recording before it's released and flags it for human review. New applications of Oni technology continue to reveal themselves. For example, it became fashionable for young mothers, only the young ones, to make an ONI recording while they gave birth to their child, so that in a few decades the child would be able to play back that recording and experience what it feels like to give birth to themselves.
No, he did not write that.
It's one of the most
Hang
highlighted
on.
bits.
Hang on a minute, though. Hang on.
Earlier
On, we were talking about how he doesn't go into the sex F-F because
Yeah.
it avoids the problem of having to map that onto
Yeah.
his sort of cis male body.
Yeah.
But like, he's just gonna the kids are just gonna be like, oh yeah, here I am pushing me out
What a
of
lot of
my
fun
vagina.
What a definitely traumatizing experience to relive.
Imagine getting called down for dinner, and then just before they're like, "Oh, by the way, dear, before you eat your soy paste, why did
I wanted seaweed.
It's mildly less traumatic, I think, than like having the baby's thoughts recorded so that they can relive what it's
that'd
like
be
to be born.
That'd be awful. Now, this bit has got big Wade energy. BWE, if you will. Wade has that kind of smirk way of speaking. We talked about this in just the last episode, I think.
Yeah, I don't.
Where we were talking about how everything's like awesome and epic and fucking cool. It's kind of a sideways like
Fantastic.
fantastic view on life. And me, this is me auditioning.
Yes.
Shall I start?
Oh yeah.
How do you want it? You want it quite fantastic? Is that
You know the people who say like wowzers.
awesome sauce?
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. And me, all my dreams had come true. I gotten stupidly rich and absurdly famous. I'd fallen in love with my dream girl, and she had fallen in love with me. Surely I was happy, right?
Sorry, I don't know if it's in the script, but
Yeah.
could you just improvise a little bit about how often you're dicking down on your
yeah.
true love?
I'd fallen in love with my hot dream girl, birthmark and all, and she'd fallen in love with me. We dick down MF style on the regs. I uploaded those right from the Earl, straight into Ito. Fuck! I can start again. I can.
Don't call us. We'll call you.
But was I happy? Surely I was happy, right? Not so much. As this account will show, and now it takes on yet another weird like legendary
Yep.
style. I was suddenly way out of my depth, both personally and professionally. What a boring thing to add. And basically, his problem is here that he's getting super addicted to the Oni. He describes it as super heroin, which is one word.
That's incredible.
Which I really like.
Super heroin.
And he just drops in. Meanwhile, I continue to search for the 7 shards of the Siren's soul.
Oh, he had been, but
Yeah, but he
no
didn't mention
updates on
anything that happened.
No.
It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
He can teleport anywhere, buy anything, kill anyone, but he still doesn't make any progress, and I couldn't understand why. Finally, out of a mixture of disgust and desperation,
So he can kill anyone.
yeah,
Is
in
that-
the Ito,
Yeah, but-
Ito he can kill.
Does it say
Not
that?
Yeah, it says he can kill anyone who gets in his way.
But like,
But he's a dick. He's a fucking dickhead. He offers $1 billion to anyone who can provide him with any information on how to locate.
this is a classic.
Do you think this
flaw.
is him paying one of the tolls?
This is a classic flaw, isn't it? Because like, rather than putting in the effort himself,
Yeah, he's
trying to offload
pay to win.
that.
We call that pay to win in the game of us.
PGW. Yeah.
It also makes the prophecy, if as it sounds, the prophecy of him paying 7 tolls is going to be like he's going to pay $1 billion for someone to find each one of these, then it turns it from being like an actual like here's how the riddle works to a sort of Christ-like scriptural prophecy where it's like the cock will crow, you'll betray me 3 times before the cock crows. And then that does happen. Like, it makes Halliday sound like a sort of evil, omnipotent being rather than setting a fun puzzle to write a novel about. He announces this reward with a stylized short film, which I can't wait to see in the film.
No.
Modelled after Anorak's invitation. And he basically gets, $1 billion. He describes it as $1 billion shard bounty, which gets everyone hyped. Another year passes, and then a few weeks after the 3rd anniversary of the Oni's launch, it finally happened. An enterprising young Gunter led me to the first shard.
I can't believe he persisted with this one.
And I can't believe that he's just, like, the fun part is surely all the bit he's not written.
Yeah.
Like, all the bit that he's not even bothered mentioning, really. He gets led to the first shard, and when I picked it up, So it's apparently
It's
a
just a
physical
thing, yeah.
shard just in the world.
Just a thing, yeah.
It set in motion a series of events that would drastically alter the fate of the human race.
Wow,
For
that
the
was
second
how that
time
in
this
one chapter.
So now he's going to skip another 5 years. As one of the only eyewitnesses to these historic events, I feel obligated to give my own written account of
Yes,
what
you're the
occurred,
narrator.
so that future generations. Let me just give you this read as well.
Okay, go on.
So that future generations, if there are any, will have all the facts
hang
at
on.
their disposal when
Hang
they
on.
decide how to judge my actions. Level 4. And that's where we are.
Fucking hell.
So I think it's fair to say there's a lot going on.
It's drivel. It is nonsense.
Speaking of nonsense, we'll be back to Ready Player 2 next week. Though. We're going to take a little break. I think for my good
Yes,
and the good of everyone else, you can have too much of a
You've
good
got the
thing.
mad look in the eye.
And we've got that 7-shard riddle to think about. So really get to grips with it. I want theories. I want gunters out there. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll find them first. I don't care if they're fictional. We'll go to Ernest Klein's house if that's what it takes.
I don't want to.
On Street View, I mean.
Okay, right.
Yeah, cool. That's it. We've got things to plug, and I leave it to you to do so while I have some water.
You can find the show on Twitter. There'll be a lovely art put up by Isaac very, very shortly. That's at Shame City Gang. You can also email us.
Yeah.
That will be TAS, T-A-S,
Yeah.
at shame.city.
It's a lot of fun.
We're going to be doing some more streaming this week
Huge
over
amounts.
at twitch.tv/Shame City.
Yeah, there's an
so that's
extra
Shame
Y.
City. And then at the end, for no good reason, there is another Y.
We're getting rid of that Y in 6 months. If any one of you takes it, that handle, there will be blood on your hands.
Isaac will stop the show. He'll
That'll be
stop
it.
his work,
That'll
and
be
he'll
it.
be finding
I'll
you.
find you like this. You'll be my only shard.
He's going to gun you down and fucking kill you.
Cut you down. Yeah, we're going to post a stream schedule on Twitter, but as a heads up, whilst we decide on a more long-term strategy, you can expect it on weekdays at 9 o'clock. That's kind of usual.
That's the
Not
vein.
every weekday, but some
No,
weekdays.
that's sort of, if you were thinking ever of just popping in, that would
That'd
be the time to do it. Yeah.
Also, though, if you come and join the Discord over at shame.city/Discord,
Nice.
you will get notifications whenever we go live.
And how many Ys in that one?
There's just the
just the
normal
one.
amount
Just
of
the normal
Ys.
amount of Ys.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
some are calling that a boring amount of Ys.
We also do extra content over at patreon.com/Shame City, again with a regular number of
Yeah.
requisite Ys. We do extra episodes, both short and long.
Yeah.
We,
And video
we do
content.
video content now.
Even
Isn't
though we're
that?
not actually at the Patreon level where we have to do video content.
We just thought we'd give that to you guys because also there are weeks where we don't do anything.
So we sometimes miss, but we always hit.
But
in
when
another
we,
sense.
exactly. We hit all the shots we take.
Absolutely.
They're all goals.
And if you want to also, this kind of going back to the Twitch thing, because it's on my mind, get involved, then get the Twitch website up, twitch.tv,
Go on.
or the application on Apple's iOS system, or our Android's system.
Whatever that
and
is.
just give us a follow so that you'll be notified when we go live. And also,
that'd
we
be
need
big.
to get to 50 followers one day to become a fucking affiliate. And then we're going to the big leagues. Fuck the
That's gonna be
show. Streamers only. Until next time.
Yes.
I've been Isaac, you've been.
I've been Declan.
Keep those .oni files handy, boys.
M dash.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you.